I'm really excited to be starting out this school year with a new product from Homeschool in the Woods. It's called Project Passport, and it's a lot hands-on, which is great because my Ava, she loves to do her stuff hands-on. Lap books, coloring, cutting, pasting, all those things. And we were going to be doing the Middle Ages for this year, and so what I'm going to be talking about today is Project Passport, the Middle Ages, from Homeschool in the Woods. So to start off this project, the directions are set up so that you kind of create the beginnings of your projects that you're going to use throughout the whole course of the Middle Ages. So you're given directions and you make this cute little luggage by cutting a folder. There's a template for it, and you cut the folder, and inside you print pages for a travel log, so that when you're done traveling through the Middle Ages, you make this little travel log. And then there's the passport that you create. You print it on colored cardstock, and then inside there's your passport, and as you can see, we've put our picture in it. We're going to be filling this out later today. So this is our luggage to hold the things that we get along the way with an identification card. And then after you've done this, there's stuff to print out to put. I chose to put it in a binder. You can put it in a binder or just a regular folder, but I kind of like it in a binder. And each stop along the way has papers to read. So you start out and it tells you about what you're doing and the time period. And then there's activities to do. And one of the activities, one that I think is going to be our favorite that we chose to do, is the Snapshots Moments in History. And this is all about the timeline. So they give you a timeline to print out. Now they said print it on colored cardstock. All I had left was white, so I printed it on white cardstock, as you can see. You can also make this outside of the binder, and there's directions to make it as an accordion style. I chose to make it in our binder. And to fill in this timeline, there are timeline photos. So as we go through our passport project and do each section, it tells you what photos to cut out and add to your timeline. And we'll use colored pencils to add some color to them. I highly recommend printing everything out from the beginning. There are 25 stops, so basically it's broken down into 25 different stages. And each of those stops has things that you can print out. It starts with your printing of the reading that you do for each stop, which is the background information based on what you're doing. Like, for instance, stop 1 that Ava and I will be doing today is laying the foundation, part 1. And it talks about where the barbarians came from and how it all began. Then along with each stop, you have a travel itinerary. And this travel itinerary tells you what activities that you're doing for each one. Whether it be going ahead and working on your scrapbook of sites, and here's the cover that we're going to be coloring today for our scrapbook of sites for the Middle Ages. Or maybe it's the newspaper. Now we chose not to do the newspaper for our project, but there is a whole newspaper and writing to go along with this. And then there's also the timeline, and the timeline has different stops along the way, and each step tells you what you're adding to the timeline with your timeline figures. So to smooth the process along with your kids, I highly recommend printing out all of the things that you're going to need ahead of time. For instance, these are all the timeline photos. I printed them all out ahead of time, so they're done. I printed out the reading ahead of time. I printed out the itinerary ahead of time, and to make sure that I had all the supplies that I would need for what we're going to do today. Alright, so part of the first stop is to create your pieces that you're going to be using throughout the program. Now, like I said, I went ahead and did all of the printing ahead of time, and now Ava is going to color the cover for her book. You can see it's a scrapbook of sites, the Middle Ages, and we chose color pencils. She's going to go ahead and color Go ahead. She's going to go ahead and start coloring this, and we're going to put it on the front of our binders. And after we do this, we're going to do a little bit of reading for you and show you how we fill in our timeline. And then that'll be it. And hopefully you got a little glimpse into what this passport project from Homeschool in the Woods looks like. Alright, as you can see, Ava has finished coloring her page now. And now that she's finished coloring, we're going to add her scrapbook of sites to the front of her binder. And then we're just going to do a little bit of reading from the first stop so that you can kind of get a feel for what some of the reading is like in each stop. This one is called Laying the Foundation, Part 1. Do you want to read some, Ava?
Sure. Greetings, traveler. Welcome to our journey through the Middle Ages. Now, you may be wondering just what exactly are the Middle Ages? Who lived at that time? What was going on in the world then? How did people live and eat and dress themselves? If you think you are thinking that is good. They're all excellent questions, and they are just some of what we plan on discovering as we travel through the Middle Ages from its beginning to its end.
Now that we finished our reading on stop 1, Ava's going to go ahead and she's going to cut out the timeline photos that stop 1 indicates we should cut out and add to our timeline. So as you can see, we have our timeline photos out, and she's going to be adding the Dark Ages, which we talked about in our reading, and the fall of the Western Roman Empire, which we also talked about in our reading. She will cut them out and glue them where it says fall of the Western Empire, Roman Empire, and Dark Ages. So go ahead and let's cut those out, and we'll glue them on.
Okay.
So Ava has cut out Dark Ages, and now she's going to glue it on to her timeline, and glue both the picture and the description that tells her what it is. The Dark Ages, the first half of the Middle Ages, marked by barbarian invasions and instability. Okay, Ava finished. She finished gluing on the 2 timeline pieces that we had to add on for stop 1. Now stop 1 is mostly about getting your projects prepared, and but now we're looking forward to moving on to steps 2 and 3 and through 25 with some really exciting hands-on projects, from stick puppets to file folder games. There's stuff like creating a catapult or a Viking longship. There's lots of creative writing opportunities. So we hope that this gave you a little insight into what Project Passport, the Middle Ages from Homeschool in the Woods is like.